Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Co-op Connection podcast. Today we're visiting with our newest vendor, Fire Reconstruction, and discussing how to deal with water, fire, and mold damage. Also discussing ways that you can prepare for the hurricane season. So sit back, crank up the volume, and enjoy.
Well, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We're very excited to have you on this episode of the podcast. I know that y'all have been a vendor of ours for just over a couple months, and you were able to come to the conference. We had you there, but we were able to officially bring you on. So I think it's going to be great for our members to hear what you do. And as we talk about your industry, it's good for them to know that there's a company that has integrity and that wants to help our members in any way possible. So I'd love to start with that. Maybe you could just give us some background, Jeff, on who you are and who Fire Reconstruction is.
Great, Christopher. We're glad to be here today. And like you alluded to, we joined the co-op, and we're excited to be a part of it. And we look for a long-lasting, beneficial relationship for both sides on this. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Fire Reconstruction, we've been in business since 2003. We are a veteran-owned company. I'm one of the owners, and I have two partners, Darren and Travis. We're all working owners in the organization.
Okay.
We are a full-service restoration company. With that being said, we do fire, water, mold, reconstruction, contents, CapEx expenses, build-outs, remodels, you name it. We pretty much, if there's something that needs to take place, we can handle it for your members.
Yeah.
And so we've been around for a long time, and we've got our corporate offices here in Houston. We've expanded recently into the Bryan College Station area, and we have other plans to keep facilitating our growth. So we just wanted to make sure we're doing everything right, being methodical and due diligence, and moving forward. So we're excited about it. So we're excited to be here today, and that's kind of a little bit of the background on who we are and what we do.
That's great. And so before we kind of get into some of the things we want to talk about, I know one of the biggest things is we just had Hurricane Beryl last month, and we're still in that hurricane season, so there's a lot that we can cover. But I wanted to ask first, what do you believe separates you from other companies in your industry? I know from experience, it's the industry I used to work in where a hurricane comes in and everybody seems to know how to do restoration, right? But you have been around for 20 years and you have the knowledge and the experience that you need. So what do you feel like is something that separates you from others?
That's a great question. There's a lot of competition out there. You've been in the industry before, you understand that. And also being a veteran-owned company, we take pride in some of the things we were taught early in our lives. Attention to detail, communication, which is huge in any project. We want to make sure that our teammates and coworkers are all on board, our culture that we have in place, and we want to make sure we provide a good safe environment for our people and a pleasant place to work.
Yeah.
There's a few of the main things we like to do in our organization. So, we all do, extract water and that kind of thing. But, at the end of the day, what I think truly separates us is providing the ultimate customer service experience to our customers. Me and my partners and the whole group, if you will, are all working and engaged in every operation of the day-to-day business in our company. All of our employees are background checked, vetted, insured. I mean, we have the whole gamut of what you would be looking for in a contractor to come out there and support you in your facility or your home. So, that's a little bit about us.
That's great. That's great. I think that's huge. And when you're looking at our members, the churches, the schools, and the other nonprofits that we work with, I think having somebody that, they can trust to come out when they have this issue is huge. And so somebody that has integrity is somebody that they want to have on their team. Right. So it's great.
When talking about that, too, just to take it a step farther,
Sure.
If you would, obviously the churches and the schools are affected. But then again, when that happens, too, where they live is affected, so their families. So it's a bigger picture when you have what we just experienced, like with Beryl, and other hurricanes or storms or whatever damage comes into play. It's a full gamut. So the empathetic side of it needs to be in place. We want to make sure our family members and our company are taken care of as well. So it goes across the board. It's a group a group challenge.
That's
if you will.
great. That's great. Well, you've kind of already transitioned for me, and I love it. So let's talk about Hurricane Beryl and hurricane season. Brian, maybe this is something that you could allude to. What are some ways that, just specifically speaking towards the water damage side of things and being prepared for that, what are some things that our members can do to prepare for when that hurricane comes, or just even the season that we're in right now?
Yeah, we're right in the middle of it. It's just, I've done this a long time too, like Jeff, in various capacities. I'm not going to go through my entire 30-year career
Sure.
history, but we've seen it all, and the biggest thing Jeff and I work on a daily basis all year long is getting people prepared and aligned with a partner like Fire Reconstruction. And we're new to the co-op. We have an emergency response program. They call it an ERP, and we can address some more of that here in a little while. But the best thing for the co-op members, in my mind, is to get familiar with us.
Okay.
So we can get familiar with them. Jeff and I have talked to this, getting them signed up so we can go out to their facilities. That's no charge to anybody.
Okay.
We can come out, do an assessment, take photographs, see where everything is on their property, mechanicals. In case something happened, we've got photos in our library when this church calls or this school calls of, hey, here's where you're going. We'll get a description of what happened. That way we're familiar with the property already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if they need power, if they need generators brought in, we know where to stage them. We know
Okay.
where to stage dumpsters. We're familiar with the job site. I guess I can talk real quick about what just happened
Yeah.
with this last storm. We did a job for the Met
Okay.
over on Jones Road. And they've got the Warship Center is a gigantic building.
Yeah.
And then they've got offices next to it in a separate building. Well, the damage was all east winds. That's kind of the way this storm worked. And
Right.
it pounded those sides of the building for hours and hours. And water came in through weep holes, it came in through windows. So it was mainly that side of the facility that was affected. So we were contracted by Mike Turk. He invited me out there. We got out there the same day.
Okay.
They had no power. And they had, there wasn't standing water throughout the whole place, but carpet was wet. It had found its way in first, second floors and into the main Warship Center.
Sure.
So we had to come in and do water damage wise 2-foot flood cuts pretty much throughout the east side of that entire building, remove insulation, wet back all the water up, extract it. If the carpet was not salvageable, some of it was removed.
Okay.
Sprayed everything down with antimicrobial for any of that, and then they had no power, so we brought in a trailer-mounted generator, which was hooked up to run our equipment. And we had, I don't have an exact head count, we had a lot of stuff out there. There was
Sure.
probably 100 fans and 40 dehumidifiers to dry this properly, hoping that the power would come back on pretty soon. Well, it was out for 5 days.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So our plan of attack was, this is what Mike wanted, they were gonna have service on Sunday. Our direction was get this place dry,
Sure.
and then we're gonna switch that generator to fire up HVAC so we can have service and enough power in there to light that up.
Yeah.
That was the plan, and we were getting that lined up, and the power came back on.
That's great. That's great.
So the building was dried, and now we've submitted our bids for the reconstruction out there. They're still going through all their
Sure.
paperwork and all the other stuff they have to do. So it turned out to be a good project for us. That was our first one with the co-op. It went well.
Yeah.
So I was
That's
real
great.
happy with that.
That's
So-
great. And so through that, just you knowing the property it helped because you're prepared to do these things now. And so in the future, now that you've done that, something else happens.
Absolutely.
Which is why it's important for our members to reach out to you and say, hey, I don't have anything right now, but it would be great if you could come know my property.
That is the key thing for the co-op, whether it's a school or a church, is for us to get familiar with your job site.
Okay.
Because we see it time and time again. Jeff can attest to this. I mean, if you don't prepare and you think this is never going to happen to me,
Yeah.
and then it happens,
Right.
there's no good from a hurricane. The only
Right.
good from a hurricane, if there is anything, is you have some time.
Sure.
But if it's Allison, if you guys remember that,
Yeah.
that dropped 15, 20 inches of rain in one night. You can't prepare for that.
Sure.
But you can have a team on your side that's ready to rock and roll when you say go.
Right.
And that's key.
I think that is key because I think, well, can we board up places? Can we get sandbags? Yes, but you don't know what the storm's going to do. So that's why I love with you guys is there's a lot of unknown when it comes to a hurricane, but at least if something happens, you know that Fire Reconstruction is there and they already have a plan. If something goes wrong and you guys have said, hey, we've already come out to your property, let us know what's going on, and we know exactly where to start. I think that's huge.
That's huge, Christopher. And if one more thing, with the ERP, we come out and do a site assessment and you say, hey, we like you guys, we'd want to use you in case of emergency, we'll also provide pricing for everything we do.
Okay.
Labor, materials, equipment, so that when we show up in the driveway, you know what.
Wow.
There's no second guessing anything.
That's
great.
great.
You said this much for a fan, this much for a dehumidifier, and that's the way we want it to be.
Or a labor rate or whatever it may be. I mean, nobody wants surprises, especially when it comes to money. Sometimes, it's under deductibles where it's out-of-pocket expenses or whatever, and we want to be transparent and upfront with everything we do. So this is a no charge to anybody for us to come out and do this assessment.
Wow.
You can you have your documentation, you have pictures, you have emergency contacts, whether it's your sprinkler company, your IT company, or other tenants in a facility, or whatever it may be. We provide you a platform to where you can store your information, access your information, but cloud-based, and where you have it. So if a tornado or a hurricane rips up, some stuff that you have in files, or flood happens and everything's is not there, it's all already in place.
Wow.
So, like he was alluding to, I'd rather be prepared to plan, plan to fail. So, did I say that right?
We get it.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah, you want to make sure, and preparedness is the key to all this, what we're talking about. And you just want to, because it's not when, it's or if, it's when it's going to happen.
Sure.
So we just want to be, give you the information you need, because we see it on a daily basis. We've seen it for many, many years, and the goal is for everybody to just to be prepared.
Good.
I mean, and so that when it does happen, you have a company and have things in place to make sure you're dealing with it the right way.
Great. Now, we'll kind of talk more about outside of a hurricane here in a little bit, but in terms of the expectations, I think a lot of people, and rightfully so, you have a hurricane hit and you've got damage, whether it's to your house or to your church that needs help. I think the expectation is, well, let me call somebody and they better be here within 5 minutes, right? So maybe you could just go ahead and walk us through what are some of the expectations you set, especially with our members of you want to help them, there's a desire to help them, but there's also 4.5 million people that are here in the Houston area. How do y'all set those expectations with maybe the emergency response plan and things like that?
You want me to take that one? Okay.
We're both going to give you the same answer.
So that's a great question. And obviously, if a hurricane hits, it's all hands on deck. I mean, there's not enough restoration companies in Houston to support it. That's why it's great to have affiliations like we have.
Yep.
We've got affiliations with 96 other offices nationwide. We've got, which we are part owners in, which allows them to come into our area and help support the members and in their homes and things of that nature. So, no one can support everything, no matter how big or small you are. It requires all hands on deck and to pull resources from other locations, whether it's equipment, personnel, knowledge, experience. It takes everything you have, because the key is to obviously minimize disruption. You want to minimize the damage that's been done, and you want to get it up and going as fast as you can.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's important for us to be able to have those resources at our disposal to bring in to help facilitate the process of getting everybody back to normal.
Okay.
So
that's great. So then let's take it one more step in this process. Hurricane Beryl has hit. Maybe it's Mike Turk or whatever. I've got water damage in my church or my organization. What are the next steps for our members to take? I think it's great for them to hear. Is it just to call you and then they get on a list of when to come out, or how does that work? And then what are some things, so kind of two parts to this question, what are some things that they can do in the meantime as they're waiting for you to show up? My carpet's wet. Right. Do I start doing some things, or do I just say, you know what, the professionals are coming out? What are y'all thoughts on that?
Christopher, it's case by case. We'll get there as soon as we can, obviously.
Okay.
And as Jeff was talking about, that's a good part of the co-op. We'd love to work for all these members in churches and schools on a yearly basis, and not day-to-day. You don't want to see us every day,
Right.
but we're here for all kinds of different projects.
Sure.
Okay, and I'm not saying that's kind of the direction we would go first,
Yeah.
if you will.
Okay.
It's going to be a big part of our business, helping all the members. But if you had damage inside your church, let's say the Met, before we got there, and you knew a couple days the storm was coming. I mean, it's just you'd want to get your furniture away from windows, move it to the center, back up all your computers if you can.
Sure.
Valuables, I would suggest those plastic storage bins. You can buy them at Walmart, Costco for photos and important documents and that kind of stuff. Any of your nice furniture, like you have in here, cover it with plastic sheathing, and
Okay.
if you can tape it down with some sturdy tape, just anything that could get wet. File cabinets, for example.
Yeah.
Get everything out of the lower drawers, because you never know
Sure.
what's coming. It's better to be safe than sorry, and
Sure.
move that to higher ground. Exterior of the building, if we know something's coming in, I'd have someone get up there and make sure the gutters are not clogged and drain spouts are
Right.
working, so that water can get out of there as quick as possible.
Okay.
Just things like that.
Yeah.
If you've got an elevator in a church, raise it to the second floor. You don't want it. We've seen that a lot. People forget to do that.
Yep.
Now that floods the elevator shaft and your elevator's down there.
Well, I just
That's
thought about
one-
that right now.
I've seen it many
Yeah.
times, and they're like, "Oh,
That's
Yes.
that's something that I definitely would not have thought of. And
I've seen it too many times. And
interesting.
someone forgot to raise the elevator.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now, do they call their insurance first? Do they call you first? What are the steps then of, man, I've got some flooding issues. What happens?
Well, typically, the first thing you want to do is whether it's a homeowner or a commercial building is you want to minimize the damage to your property or mitigate it, as you know.
Yep.
You want to whether it's tarp up your roofs that have been affected, board up any windows that that have been blown out. Start the extraction process. Whether you have power or not, we can get power to your building. Or it may have power, so we can start getting it out. You want to minimize the damage, and yes, of course, you want to contact your insurance company because ultimately, that's why we have insurance is to be protected in these situations. But the first initial step is first of all make sure everybody's safe. You don't want to put anybody in a compromising, whether it's the members of the church or the school or at a home. You want to make sure that everybody is safe and using precaution, and that goes for our employees as well. We want to be safe.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, too, the goal is to mitigate the loss as soon as possible, and so it doesn't create any more damage to the property.
Okay. And so let's transition a little bit here. I know that it's on our mind is hurricane season, but you guys don't just exist from June, July to October. I know that probably a lot of your work happens with just the day-to-day leaks that you might find in an organization. So what are some other areas that you help our members out with? Instead of just, floodwaters came in, what are some other things? Is it bathroom leaks? Is it anything like that they should call you?
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
In a nutshell, yes, we are obviously in our business. Things. Anytime you have moving parts, whether it's sprinkler heads, plumbing, storms that come through. There's a lot of different perils that happen on a daily basis. Whether it's fire, even though we're called Fire Reconstruction, obviously, I'll let the name for you. We do water is primarily the majority of the work that we do. It's day-to-day business is, we're just not set up for storms. We're set up to support, residential and commercial clients throughout the year. Because with that being said too, we're approved and vetted and background checked by over 50 insurance carriers. And the reason we are is because we handle our business. We take care of our business. And, they happen all the time. It's and we're kind of one of those calls you don't want to have to make. But if something happens, you want to have a good idea of who you're going to call, and hopefully it'll be a relationship like we have with you guys, so that you have that trust, and you got certain things set up to where it's going to be all above board, and hopefully go as smooth as possible.
Yeah. So residentially as well, if we have if there's a staff member at a church that has used you in the past? I mean, if they have something at their house, you'll be able to help out with that as well.
We've done that as well
Okay.
too already.
Okay.
From Burrow, we've had some of those situations that we've taken care of a few already.
Mm-hmm.
And no, please call us. I mean, we're here for you. We're here to help, and we're going to take care of you.
One of the things that came to my mind, but I know we were talking about the hurricane, things like that, and this may be more of a clarification question. You mentioned that you had 96 affiliations with other resources. You have your office here in Houston and College Station. Those are just available resources, like I think you had mentioned before, tractor trailers or equipment and things like that. Is that kind of what you were talking about with affiliations?
Yeah, correct. So the organization that we're affiliated with, they're all independently owned, and there's 96 separate locations throughout the United States. So in any peril, whether it hits in Florida or Wisconsin or California or Texas, we have the resources to pull in from these other affiliates that we have that are independently owned that we're partnered with.
Okay.
And what that does is that brings in a lot more manpower, it brings in equipment, it brings in knowledge, brings in people who are truly experienced in helping out during a disaster.
That's great. Yeah, so like a co-op for the
It's
restoration
kind of like a
world
co-op.
is what it is.
Exactly.
That's great. Okay. Do either of y'all have anything else that our facilities managers or business administrators can be thinking through? Right now we don't have crazy storms or hurricanes, but what are some things that they could be doing that will help them? I think maybe you had mentioned something earlier.
Well, for insurance purposes, by all means, at least once a year, all your churches and schools, they should be taking photographs, video of the exterior of the property, everything on the interior from all angles, computers, furniture, anything that is on that job site, because if an adjuster shows up and it is an insurance claim, it could be all damaged and it's too late then. So that's something that really needs to happen on a yearly basis.
So just take pictures at least
Good
once
pictures
a year.
from all angles.
Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
angles. Okay, that's great. And then I think really just kind of to finalize everything here, I'd love just one more time for our members to hear what really separates you from other people and being an approved co-op vendor. And Jeff, maybe you can help us out with that.
Okay, great, love to. Yeah, just to kind of wrap it up. Again, our name is Fire Reconstruction. We specialize in more than just fire. Whether it's a sewage backup or water damage or roofing issues, freezes, pipes, sprinkler heads. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen in a building or a home. We're here for you. It's good to have our information. We do mold, we do contents, we do water and fires we touched on. Construction is a huge part of what we do. So we're pretty much a full service, one-stop shop. You can go check us out online at www.firereconstructioninc.com. And that's where you can also get into our, if you decide you'd like for us to come out there and take a look at your facility and kind of give you an assessment and free of charge and kind of give you some ideas of what it would take to be proactive in making sure you're being prepared for anything that should happen. We'd love to do that for you. It doesn't cost you anything, so why not take advantage of it.
So we encourage all of our members to do that with you guys.
Yeah, that's right. And on the co-op, my name's on there. I think Jeff's might be too.
Okay, on our website. That's right.
We'll be happy to schedule an appointment.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. I think this has been very beneficial. Yeah, of course. And we'll make sure that our members are well educated on the needs that they have. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Co-op Connection podcast. For more information about fire reconstruction and the co-op, visit our website, www.churchcoop.org. Also, make sure to save the date. We would love to see you at our annual Texas Ministry Conference held at Champion Forest Baptist Church on February 18th, 2025. To view our speakers, workshops, and to join our waitlist for registration, visit our conference website, www.texasministryconference.org.